Well, welcome everybody. This is the FLFDN Virtual Roundtable. Today we have Gail Tylek, Director of the Faculty Resource Center for Academic Excellence, or FRACI, at Niagara County Community College. So at several points in the presentation, you'll hear Gail refer to FRACI. Know that that stands for Faculty Resource Center for Academic Excellence. Today, Gail is going to share with us some points and some thoughts about how we communicate the value of our centers. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jeremiah. My name is Gail Tylek, and to give you some history, I took over the director position of the Faculty Resource Center in September. And I want to discuss with you today what the historic center looked like before I came in September, some changes I made trying to develop more rigorous programming through the center, and challenges that I have. I do want to say this is a completely interactive session. At any point, if you want to raise your hand or ask a question, feel free to do so, and I'll stop the presentation at any time. The Faculty Resource Center at Niagara Community historically has been a place that served the needs of the faculty more in a reactionary. If faculty had a specific need for technology training, resource training, they would facilitate that. So for example, if you had a new piece of equipment and Elmo was being installed, Faculty Resource Center is where you would go to receive that training. Faculty Resource Center facilitated small group initiatives. For example, we have an individual from our humanities area for the past 10 years that introduces a new book that faculty are to read, and at the end of the semester, we get together and discuss that book. FRACI Fridays, where faculty get together for an hour on Fridays and just discuss any topic that they feel is relevant, and that was once a month, FRACI Fridays. And then Liberal Arts Hour. The coordinators of our 4 liberal arts programs would have their bi-monthly meetings, but then they would offer presentations on the liberal arts to the general population. Web-based learning education, there's a significant amount of web-based learning education. Lisa Dubuck at the college uses the Faculty Resource Center, and if not daily, at least weekly, there's training on using Blackboard, using DegreeWorks, using Starfish, and we use the Faculty Resource Center for that training. Pedagogy training as requested by faculty. And then others, I even in the past, I was serving as interim vice president of the college in academic affairs last year, and the non-tenured faculty asked me to do a presentation on portfolio development and how rubrics are used to assess faculty. So I presented by request. And then it also serves as a repository, not a training center, but a repository for course level assessment data. And that was created, I'll tell you, very whirlwind before Middle States came in 2 years ago out of necessity, because assessment was probably the area that we needed the most work on at the college, so we quickly used the Faculty Resource Center. I want to open it up. Are there any questions that you have about our center historically? And I'd love to know, does this mimic what your centers are doing at your college? Anyone want to input and unmute themselves? Nope. Okay, I'll move on.
Question, can you say a little more about web-based learning education? Are those like asynchronous resources for faculty?
Yes. Okay. So I teach, for example, I teach a dietetics intro to nutrition class online. I attend these meetings even today. You know, when a new MindTap was being introduced, you'll go and attend a session where they talk about how to integrate using the content market, how to use Gradebook more effectively, how to run discussions more effectively in your web-based classes. So there's a lot of training because we're expanding our web-based offerings at the college.
Thank you.
Mhm. So when I took over in September 2018, one of the biggest areas that my predecessor had indicated was that there was lukewarm attendance at these professional development sessions. And I'm saying that kindly. Sometimes she'd say one person would attend the session or two, and she just felt it was very frustrating. What I found was that faculty did in fact value the sessions, but it's very difficult for faculty to attend during their workday. There's so many other things that they're doing. They're teaching classes, they're grading. So I decided to try a few initiatives this past year, and I want to review them with you and talk about their successes or initiatives that I might have been a one and done. So the first thing, and this was very successful, new faculty orientation series. We had no formal orientation for our new hires or our adjunct faculty. So in August, and I took a real chance on this, August 15th, which is not during the contracted work year for many of our full-time faculty and adjunct, I ran an evening session. I stated that it was a mandatory session for adjunct and new hires, and it was a highly recommended session for any non-tenured faculty. I ran it in the evening, and it was with the understanding that this was going to be a rapid introduction to the main areas of the college. So as you can see by my agenda, we had security, Office of Information Technology, human resource, using a faculty handbook, doing requests on our FYI page, campus resources, expectations of faculty, the calendar and the directory, class cancellation policies, and student support, all between 5:30 and 7 o'clock on an evening in August. I enticed them with food. That's all I could offer. There was no other enticement, so I ordered subs and made it a more relaxed atmosphere, changed it up, and the feedback was positive. I was really surprised. The newer faculty that came, they were thrilled. Their survey responses were very positive, so it's something that we're going to continue. This was followed up with what I introduced as more meaningful sessions once a week from September to November. Each of the areas that I covered rapid fire, I then held a 1-hour session in the Faculty Resource Center with specific individuals from the campus that facilitated these. I made them optional, and I learned a lesson. I went way too long, September to November. Having weekly sessions every Wednesday, 2:30 to 3:30, and that was just the time that most non-tenured and new hires were available. I think I'm going to limit that to September, and I'm going to make it mandatory. And I'm going to make it really the most meaningful areas. But as a new pilot project, I would say that this was highly successful and well attended. So that was one of the new initiatives that was brought in. And again, I'll give a pause for any questions. I also enjoy.
Question here. So when you say that it was mandatory, did you? What kind of teeth did you have with that to actually make sure they showed up? Because
it's
on our
very
campus,
funny, because that was the question everyone asked me. How can you say it's mandatory when it's not? There was no penalty that they didn't show up, and everyone but one person that had a job that couldn't, maybe there was more than one, no one chose to no-show. Not one individual, other than those that had another commitment that they couldn't break. And there was no penalty. I do it all the time. I get away with it, saying it's mandatory, and they come. I don't know why, but I do. I've developed the relationship that I can say that mandatory to me means it is extremely meaningful, and it's going to benefit you, in your professional development and your advancement at the institution. So I guess I rely on my relationship with the faculty to be able to say that. No, that's very good, because right away somebody said it's not in the union contract, you can't force them, but I used mandatory air quotes with the most positive intentions behind it. I then introduced best practices theme. I did a little poll survey while we were at the orientation series and found that obviously retention at all of our colleges, it's one of the #1 issues. So the last Thursday of each month, I started a best practices series where I took individuals from the campus. For example, best practices #3 was students developing a growth mindset. Kathy Drabasi is an expert in this area, as is Suzanne Buffamonte. So what they did was they ran the session, hour-long session. Thursdays, 12:30 to 2 is an area we try to keep clear of faculty teaching. We can't do it entirely. A lot of our lab-based have to teach during that time, but we've got the most faculty available, so I tried to run it during that time period. And it was successful. Some sessions were better attended than others. I would say on average in these sessions we had anywhere from low end 3 in attendance to high end 15 in attendance. So, it depended on the topic whether faculty were interested, but it's something we're going to keep next year. And our theme for next year, we've decided, is instructional technology is going to be the theme. So I'm going to run sessions in how to have a Zoom meeting, how to, in other areas of instructional technology or administrative technology. This was the most well-attended and most positive feedback. We have 72 programs on campus. Each program is run by a coordinator. Coordinators feel they have no voice. The way our administrative hierarchy is set up, that in our division structure, we have a vice president. Under the vice president is division chairs. Division chairs of the 4 divisions at our college, or actually 5 now, we broke off with 1. Each of the programs are under that. Coordinators are the ones that are saddled with marketing and being blamed for retention and recruitment, and yet they have no forum to have a voice to interact or be heard or share best practices. So in the fall, I decided to just run 1 meeting, Tuesday at 12:30, and then Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and they could choose which one of the 2 they attended. Again, almost 100% attendance in either one of the 2 meetings. We had 30 one day, 30 the next. Some coordinators double duty. And it was in marketing. It was so beneficial because the administrative marketing team came. They were dying. They thought they were going to get crucified at the meeting. It became a really productive meeting and sharing ideas about what coordinators are doing that the marketers didn't know about, and what coordinators wanted the head of our marketing division to do with one sheets and banner advertisings on our website and how they could improve the website. It was a very positive. Both sides left feeling positive. In the spring, I ran the session on seamless transfer, SUNY seamless transfer, reviewing the seamless transfer pathways, and micro-credentialing. It was a twofer. I also headed the micro-credentialing task force this past year at the college, and I wanted ideas for credit-bearing micro-credentials, came up with 5 programs that 5 coordinators that said, oh my God, I'd love to offer a micro-credential. And the first one we've just developed is with Nancy Nechtel, the head of our fine arts program. She's going to be we're going to run it next year as our first micro-credential offering in gallery exhibits. Take 3 of the art history classes, capstone class in PowerPoint presentation and how you would hang a gallery. Students are going to be able to do it. We're purchasing Credly this summer, and we're going to offer our first micro-credential next year. So that was a result of the spring coordinator council meeting. The next new initiative, I decided to highlight the excellence of our faculty, and we have a lot of scholars. I ran keynote speakers. In the fall, it was the 55th anniversary of JFK. So in November, we couldn't quite do it on the 22nd, which is actually my birthday, November 22nd. So I know a lot about JFK. I was 3 when he was killed. One of our scholars, Phil Hasley, scholars in the area of JFK, he ran a presentation, and it was the first one. You always know your first one's going to be lightly attended, but it was threefold. One, I thought if we ran keynotes, faculty are going to support other faculty when they're putting themselves out there. So I knew I'd have some faculty attendance, some student, but also I wanted the community to realize and try to develop some media hype that, you know, we have excellence. We have scholars here at a community college. Come on out to the college and you know, be exposed to the presentation. So we used this flyer. We advertised for about a month to a few weeks before, and we had 65 individuals attend the first keynote, which I was hoping for 50. It was my goal. That's what I planned on. So having more than 65 with more than half from the community, it was an excellent start. We got a database. I made sure that we had some pre-registration set up. So now, you know, I've got a database from the community of individuals that are interested. And then just last week, I ran with the head of our horticulture program, garden myth busting, weeding through the internet, which was, you know, very timely. We had a lot of people from the nursery circuit, I guess if you call nursery circuit in the area attended, and there was over 75. So that's something that we're going to keep, the keynote speaker series, and hopefully, you know, it'll blossom into something over the years that becomes much larger attended. Also, just so you know, I always try to double up on anything I'm doing. So the hour before the myth busting, I did a retiree reception, invited the newly awarded emeritus and the retirees for an hour for an ice cream social to open the Faculty Resource Center to them. They got to talk to their colleagues, and the attendance was crazy. I actually did not have a large enough space for them. There were probably 50 retirees that came, and I got all their phone numbers down so that next year they can present at the Faculty Resource Center and bring their excellence back to the faculty, you know, for full circle. I ran theme weeks. Just to give you an example, April is Stress Reduction Week. And go figure, this was probably the fun week. So you can see, for example, I had sessions in aromatherapy, meditation, walking. I ran personally the walking course, chair yoga, MyFitnessPal, really well attended, wine glass painting, and chair massage. Yes, chair massages had about 50 participants from the faculty. So what it led me to believe, faculty will make time during the day. You know, they said that they can't come to the sessions, but if it's something fun, they were pretty able to squeeze that time in during the day. But so it made me realize, you know, I don't blame faculty. They do want to get something out of it. Most faculty will attend 1 or 2 professional development sessions during the year, but it's making me realize I've got to incentivize, you know, coming to these professional development, which I'm thinking right now, since I'm on I ran the task force for micros, I'm going to do a micro credential in professional development. I'm going to create a list of criteria. They'll get their Credly badge, particularly people that are looking for promotions coming up or early tenure. I think that's going to be a nice way to motivate and to have a tangible example in their hand. Hey, look, I've got this micro credential, you know, it warrants my consideration in the promotion rubric. And then finally, I guess this is where Jeremiah originally asked me to present, and I tend to go off on tangents and bring everything forward. I began monthly newsletters, 15 years since Faculty Resource Center developed newsletters. And the first one, you know, I was struggling. It was more perfunctory. This is what we're doing, thanking a few people. So this is the first newsletter. I thank Kathy Gerbasi. She was the outgoing faculty resource director. I think she had been the director for the past 3 to 4 years, done an outstanding job. She really worked hard at getting faculty back to the resource center. College-wide calendar, we introduced a new calendar we were going to be part of. Micro-credentialing task force, I tried to, because I was just beginning my work over the past year as the chair of that task force, asking for volunteers. Orientation series, I was trying to promote for anyone new home. We moved from, we were under construction, and we, in October, just moved into the new Faculty Resource Center. And advisory board information. So my first was pretty dry, and then I ran them through April, but just to show you the evolution, in March, I advertised some of our offerings to entice them entice them to pre-register through the Frackie site. But I did a lot of interactive things. So Frackie survey, I knew people were reading the newsletter because 58 faculty, which statistically is significant, responded to the survey. And I got a lot of valuable feedback from that. In addition, advisement notes. I decided to provide information that would benefit them at the most relevant time period. Advertised and offered registration that Frackie would pay for attendance at conferences. And then in addition, tried to promote each month a different professional development, either MOOC or course or training from the FLCC or the SUNY site. Try to introduce something that they could sit with a glass of wine at 10 o'clock at night and go through professional development. You don't have to do it at the college. So I changed and I adapted through the year from feedback that I was getting. So these are the new initiatives, and I'm going to take a moment to get some feedback from you on your thoughts, suggestions, things that you have done in your Faculty Resource Center, or questions.
I have a couple again. So first question is, this newsletter, was this an opt-in or an opt-out mailing list? And was this just to faculty, or was it to faculty and staff?
This was just to faculty, both full and part-time faculty. I created a list. We have a poor, and I'm going to say that again, poor communication system at the college. The secretary and the Faculty Resource Center painstakingly went through human resource data, because I said it really is critical to create a Blackboard. I'm big on Blackboard. I created a Blackboard communication site as well, where I uploaded all the videos and that I had, recordings like this would be uploaded into the Blackboard site. And she used that for both full and part-time faculty. We did not include staff, and that's one of my areas that I felt that I need, not just staff, administration as well. Everyone should be able to, and I want to change the name. It shouldn't just be the Faculty Resource Center for Academic Excellence. It should be College Resource for Academic, or College Resource for Excellence. I really do want to go through a name and mission change next year.
And that covered my next question, so thank you.
Yeah, and we sent it electronically, which most people, I know myself, I like to pop it up, put it in a file, but I also hand walked it to each of the division secretaries and just asked them to make copies and put it in mailboxes as well. On the back, on the flip side too, I didn't tell you that on each of the newsletters, I also included our calendar of events for the upcoming. So the March newsletter went out on February 28th or 27th. On the back side, I always recommended print a copy, put it next to your computer. You'll know all the professional development activities that are coming up the next month. So they could use the flip side as well. Okay, challenges that I found this year. Professional development for adjunct. I'd give myself a D in that. We facilitated their techniques. They come in to use our computers. If they have questions, need help with Blackboard, we're there to facilitate. but I do not feel that I did adequate professional development training for them. And it wasn't in our mission to do training for staff or administrators, so I didn't list that as a challenge. That'll be an opportunity next year for expansion. Still, low attendance at offerings. We had a 300% attendance increase from this year to last year, but I still considered it low. And I still need to reflect and review, because I'm somebody that I'm a big pilot person. Time is valuable, and if in a pilot something doesn't work, I don't want to repeat it. I give it enough time to really grow legs. I don't want to throw something out immediately, but I really don't like to continue with areas that are going to have challenges. Professional development during the instructional day. I'm fairly tech savvy, so I need to figure out more of those opportunities to provide tech training that faculty can do on their own. Those are my challenges. And this was I developed, and I wouldn't say it was a challenge, it's pretty easy for me. I developed a Blackboard repository for all professional development materials so that faculty at home could access anything. But I painstakingly videotaped almost everything this year, all the sessions. And when I went back to Blackboard, I kept the tracking component on, and there was minimal review of videotapes during the year. And I thought about that, especially the interactive sessions like icebreakers and stuff. You need to be there in the room to get anything out of it. So the videotaping, I'm going to limit to keynote presentations, big presentations next year. Okay, and I really am constantly learning. As I said, I just came in September. I'd love to know what your challenges are and what your successes are in your centers or with professional development. Come on, Steve.
Oh, fine. So the first thing I would say is when you mention email and you're sending as a PDF, on our campus, we've had a big issue with phishing. And we've had a lot of folks just sending random emails saying, please open the attached file. And so it's become standard practice that if you really want someone to read something, you put it in the body of the email, and perhaps you mention, hey, we've also got a PDF, a more print-friendly version of this here. And don't just put the information in a link that folks also have to open, because about every 2 or 3 weeks, we get something from Central IT saying, there's just been a major phishing attempt, change your passwords, don't click on these things.
That is, you're not alone, and that is an excellent suggestion.
That reminds me too, there's some inherent accessibility challenges to PDFs too, right? So the move there has been the same for us too. And my hat's off to Marty, who's here on the call too, to represent that as plain text in the email, both for security and for accessibility reasons.
It's an excellent suggestion. Excellent.
Yeah, Gail, I just wanted to say thanks for that model for the new faculty orientation. I'm at Brockport College, and we've bounced back and forth over the years, sort of between extremes in terms of how to provide orientation, particularly for new tenure line faculty. So we used to have essentially a faculty learning community through the year. It met every 2 weeks, but it was incredibly difficult to schedule a time, when everybody could come given teaching schedules. So this past year, the week before classes began in August, and this was during faculty obligation time, we held a day-long orientation, and we brought, it was about 8 hours, we fed 2 meals. Different speakers came from different parts of the campus to give people kind of what they typically got in a semester of mini meetings. And so everyone was there, but some of the feedback we got was that it was exhausting, it was overwhelming, people couldn't remember everything. So I really like what you've done is sort of kind of come up with something in the middle, whereas there's a short introduction. And when you put up your schedule, I kind of wasn't paying attention, but then I looked at the times and you're like, it's scheduled down to the 10 minutes. But I think something like that might work for us to do something up front that's short, that's not a whole day, that just kind of gives people a glimpse into all the different things that we want to cover, and that then later in the semester we have more extended sessions on each one. And we actually at Brockport, we have this weird fall semester break that's in the middle of October. And so I'm thinking we might be able to do workshops once a week through mid-October. Of course, after that, we wouldn't do them. But anyway, that model was very, very helpful. And I think we might be able to tweak that and try it here.
Yeah, and especially I was concerned about it, that rapid fire at the beginning, but the feedback was so positive that we're going to continue with that.
Good. Yeah, I think people don't. They look at their time as money, right? And if they're in a session and they feel like you're really respecting their time, they're going to pay attention, and then they might come back for more in-depth things later. So,
yeah.
I'm also going to say good luck with the offering your workshops out to staff as well, because that was something that we just had our staff council saying, hey, why can't we go to these things? So we had a discussion where we officially said, yes, you can all come to these. We'll try and make sure we remind you about these. And we're also mentioning to those staff members that we will put a letter in their files, in their HR files, that they attended this particular workshop. So that might be something else that might drive attendance if you can say, hey, this will go in your record if you want it to.
Well, that's staff attended the sessions because we advertised, we got a college-wide calendar, which was excellent. And I took advantage of it, that I wanted FRACI to be one of the main fields. You know, athletics is a field, academics is a field, and I wanted to make sure we got in at the beginning so that the very front of our college, when you go at the base, is the calendar. All the FRACI events are there. We never absolutely didn't limit it. We had administrators, we had staff, but we never really advertised to them because the center historically has been for faculty. So that we didn't limit them, but we didn't advertise to them. But that's going to change next year. And they're the ones, you know, what killed me is, so you're struggling with Blackboard and you're an adjunct, where are you going to go? You're going to go to your division secretary who's right outside your door first to say, help me with this grade book. How do I get Excel to do sums? How, you know, the secretaries are the ones that are the you know, at the front line of adjunct. They're the ones that are communicating constantly with adjunct, getting their handouts. So, so I think that that's really going to benefit us as, you know, functioning divisions by including the support staff.
Yeah, I think I want to ask it's a strategic question. How do you discover what types of topics are relevant and needed in your community?
The survey I did late in March was the reason that next year our theme is going to be instructional and administrative technology. So that survey was extremely beneficial for me. I did a two-part survey. So the first, in the 10 questions, I know, limited attention span, but the first part was, what is your competency in this particular area? And I took, you know, the litany of areas, and then, would you like training? So in some areas, faculty weren't competent. They didn't want training. They didn't care that they weren't competent in Excel, or whatever it would be. They didn't want training in it. That wasn't important to them. Instructional technology was the lowest the faculty felt competency in, and it was the highest they wanted training in. So that's why I presented it to the advisory board and said, this has to be our theme next year. If we're going to get individuals to attend the sessions, it's got to be meaningful to them. So I'm planning on resurveying at the beginning of next year. I like to repeat surveys. I like to have historic perspective to see if there's growth in changing opinions. I'm using that. I wish I would have done the survey earlier in the year. Future initiatives, as I said, I'm going to try to do as much web-based instruction. And I kind of had a fun theme in mind, 5-minute Fracky, promising that, you know, it'd be like, here's how you use Screencast-O-Matic, 5 minutes. Here's how you use Google Hangout, 5 minutes. You know, I'll just do down and dirty, here's the handout, just look at this. And I'm going to test that out next year and see anybody is willing to donate 5 minutes to a new initiative. And then this is my big project over the summer that I'm going to work on. And I'm going to track this. Tools for the effective first day of class. I've been doing a lot of research on that first day, particularly in community colleges where our students, you know, some are first generation college students. Others, you know, they're trying to negotiate. It's not what used to be the traditional high school student. You know, our average age at NCC is, I think, 28 years old, our average student age. That first day is frightening, and we lose a lot in that first day and in those first 2 weeks. Providing the faculty with the tools that the students need. I ran a student panel a couple weeks ago, and I wish every faculty member could have been there to hear what these students have gone through. And that first day, what a difference effective faculty have made on them staying in school and them dropping out the first day. And I'm actually going to bring one student, Tiana. She, single mother, returning to school, 28 years old. It was a year ago she came in, went to the first class, had been out of school for 10 years, sat down, and students around her were talking. She had some challenges, learning disabilities. She walked out and was going down to the admissions office to get her refund back, you know, of the tuition. Thank God it was Kathy Gerbasi, my predecessor, saw the look on her face, and she was, you know, she said she was almost in tears, and pulled her aside and gave her a book on growth mindset and met with her for the first 2 weeks. Well, Tiana is a 3.9 QPA. She's in the honors program right now. She's been a leader at the college, attending functions, and I'm going to ask her to speak with me the first opening day next year, because no matter what I present, the student presents a story that has impact with the faculty. So I'm going to, over the summer, I'm starting to develop, I'm whittling it down to, like, I'm trying to get it to 8 best practices. So once a week, I'll send out little blurb to all the faculty and say, you know, step number 1, are you doing this in your opening handout? Step 2, these are icebreaker activities. Step 3, each week leading up to it, so that it's little snippets. And then I'm going to make this probably my biggest push this year. The entire front of my website is going to be the resources faculty can use, how they can run icebreakers, how they can develop you know, communities within the classroom right in the first day, how they can determine writing and math are probably the 2 biggest barriers. Activities that they could run without students even knowing you're assessing their writing on the first day, kind of sneaky tactics to use so that you can get a paragraph written or something handed in where the students think that they're developing critical thinking skills, but really it's for you to collect data and information so you can make recommendations to tutoring center, you know, right off the bat. One of the other initiatives we started a couple of years ago, one of my colleagues, our tutoring center students weren't going to, so what she did, and now it's college-wide, we use it, printed out labels, just, you know, your regular sheet of labels, you know, Avery sheet of labels, but on it was the ACE Center, Academic Center of Excellence for students, with the link, the phone number, the room number, and for support, counseling, guidance. She ran a game where she said to her students in class, okay, everybody take a sticker. I want you to find your favorite book, put this on the book, lay it right down there. And at the end, when everyone had on their favorite text, she said, that's your most important resource. that's where you go before a test. If you're having trouble with the reading, whatever. Fast forward this past year, I made sure that it was passed out to every faculty. It was given to division chairs. And it's funny, Tiana said that was her #1 resource. And as she was doing her student panel, she held up her notebook with the ACE Center. So things like that, these strategies for that first day retaining the student, that's going to be my biggest push. It's going to be my focus this year. Okay, feedback and questions. All right, Jeremiah, should I turn this over to you again?
Sure. I'll put a. First of all, I'll stop the recording, and if things emerge organically after we put a pause on the recording, that's fine too. But I want to pause here and thank you, Gail, for sharing with you kind of a view into what you've been working on and what future work looks like.